All right, good afternoon. How's Jamf Nation doing? Everybody got their candy and popcorn? You ready for the party tonight? Awesome. How about Self-Service Plus? All right, we got Sam and Kyle here. They're going to lead you through Self-Service Plus. Enjoy.
Cool, thank you. Thank you. There's an app for that. This was the 2009 Apple marketing campaign from Yonder, and it showed the enormous app store you would get access to if you bought an iPhone. Not all apps were made equally. Some of them were really good. Some of them were a little new and filling gaps which didn't really exist. And I thought it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and have a very subjective view through Sam's top most useless apps. So third place for me, although it was a real treat, was the Lighter app. It was a great way of showing unity at a concert. You weren't going to burn your friend's hair. Great way to kick off. Second, this was, I don't know if this came across the pond, but it was the single coolest thing you could do as an under 18-year-old in the UK was have this beer drinking app. And my absolute favorite is the I Am Rich app. I don't know if anyone's seen this before, but it was for a cool $1,000. You too could own a red icon. It did absolutely nothing. It got 2 stars, so there was some value there. But fast forward, and we're still in a world with lots and lots of apps. They're probably a little bit more useful than these three. And this is a screenshot from my actual phone. Maybe this was a little bit to do with lockdown, but the trend has been lots and lots of apps. It's way more accessible. Every restaurant seems to have an app. Every cafe seems to have its own app. Ordering food, the bloat is real. I've got 7 parking apps. That's annoying. I've also got, I had 12 when I wrote this. I have 13 now airline apps. And so that problem is out in the sort of consumer world, but then we bring it back into Jamf. These are our 5 apps you really need to deploy in order to get a trusted access outcome on an end user device. And so that goes from managing the devices with self-service, making sure that they're secure with Protect, and then and Trust, and then obviously the ZTNA elements, so the sort of secure access to your corporate resources with Connect and elements of Trust. So hopefully by the end of this session, we will all come there and we'll realize that there's an app for that. I've been told by Jamf Marketing that they didn't write this. That was all me. So anywho, who are we? Why are we talking to you about apps? I'm Sam, the Director of Product Management, and I lead our end user app teams. We're focused on solving the same problems that the organization and IT admins face, but we tend to look at it through the lens of end users. And we believe if we truly delight end users by giving them genuinely helpful and having an experience that is more tailored to them, then we can solve the organization's problems whilst improving the overall employee experience and then ultimately making all of your lives a lot easier.
And I'm Kyle Hammond. I'm a principal software engineer at Jamf, mostly focusing on Mac and iOS apps here at Jamf. I've worked on just about all of them, and I help our engineering teams to build up scalable code bases so that we can get those great ideas into market faster with helping each other instead of focusing on these single apps that we've been doing. So why do I care and why should you care so much about the user experience? I'm just going to read this quote because I think it's pretty powerful. You know, from a monetary perspective, buyers who prioritize end user satisfaction in their purchasing decisions are more likely to see a higher return on their investment and long-term success with the software because the end users actually can use it and they like it. Buying influence is being increasingly driven from these employees up to the buyer group. Like, your employees aren't making the purchasing decisions, they're just being told they have to use these things. I'm sure many of you have experienced this, but it's really, really difficult to roll out an unpopular tool. We want to make adoption easier for your end users so that you get the value you expected quicker. Not to mention that you'll look like an absolute hero if you roll out a tool that people like and it's easy to use. So bad tools, on the other hand, impact employee productivity. Like 50% of workers would leave due to bad digital tools. And this was a study from just a couple years ago. So I also can think of a few tools that I've had to use that make me question, like, do I want to keep working at my previous company, not at Jamf? I love all the tools we use at Jamf. So IT admins are really busy people. There are a lot of employee devices that you have to manage. And if there's any friction with the users, it's just multiplied, right? You get lots of help desk tickets. This number that we pulled here is an average, and I think this includes like test environments and things, so I think the number is actually a lot higher. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are managing computers and devices for a lot of people per person in the IT admin org. So finally, you're all end users as well. We want you to have a great experience with our tools, and with all that spare time at having employees without issues, this is what an AI image generator thought that you might be doing with your spare time here in Nashville. I don't know how you'd surf, but that's what they've got. So Sam is going to show you what our teams have been up to.
Yeah, thanks. So our teams have been hard at work creating Self-Service Plus. It's been a lot of effort. And this is just the first step on a long journey of updates that we've got coming. But let's dive in. We want to introduce to you Self-Service Plus. So this is a brand new app allowing end users to become productive, establishing trust while having a secure, personalized experience. And Self-Service Plus brings together the power of Self-Service Classic and macOS Protect in a single end user app. And we started with Self-Service Classic and Protect because end users are such an attractive attack vector. It's more important that they understand their role in keeping the organization secure. And today, that experience is a bit wonky. So end users have a wonky experience between Self-Service Classic and Protect. Self-Service is already kind of known and loved within the organization, but Protect is this agent running in the background. And end users only really know about it when there's a security policy violation. And so let me kind of dig in a little bit more, and I'll show you kind of the way Self-Service Plus will help you in your organization. So this is the homepage. We've designed a new homepage which is full of information curated by you, the IT admins. Here, users can see relevant information published by you, a quick overview of their security posture, and then featured apps. That new security section pulls data directly from the macOS Protect agent if it's configured. So if you've got a license and you've deployed it already, it will pull that information directly into the app. Otherwise, that section isn't shown. Here you can see policy information, such as if blocking harmful software, websites, or apps is enabled, and if removable storage is allowed. Scrolling down, you can see more of those featured apps. So about that curated content, we've added some additional branding controls, and which comes with this app. So for the interior of the app, you can update the icon and text fields up there in the top left. You've also got a banner display area, which we use internally at Jamf to sort of communicate events or something happening kind of within the organization more short term. And we've added some extra text fields in there too, so you can sort of introduce your end users to your company or to the app itself. There's also some interesting exterior branding available too. So this is what it ships with by default, but you can update the icon with your gnarly Mac admin hub thing. And you can also rename it. We've spent a heap of time looking at where end users go the most and how many clicks are involved and what you're publishing and how we can just make that journey much easier. So we've rejiggled the navigation in there, taken stuff out of a collapse menu, made them top-level items, and categorized stuff a little bit easier. This is sort of quite foundational to some of the updates we'll be doing later on. But yeah, navigation has been a big part. The onboarding, which was introduced last year with Jamf Pro 11, was kind of one of the first steps of us working in the end user space and just improving productivity and onboarding and the employee experience. This is completely supported in Self-Service Plus. So that setup experience of pre-staging and deploying some apps before the users get in, it is all there, and then they can get up and running and start using their stuff way quicker. Notifications has just been an enormous subject. I'm talking to you already kind of this week and the feedback we've been receiving already. We kind of Jamf rely heavily on notifications to communicate system or end user issues. And we've really stopped and tried to explore what notifications mean to end users and how we can improve this. We started with one simple principle, and notifications are a tool that should help inform end users about an event or an action. These should be timely, contextual, and actionable while not disrupting them from their work. And there's a lot to package up in that, but notifications are, well, ideally in a perfect world, we would only need to notify end users if something happened or if there's something in their path that's blocking them. But often they're in the way, they disrupt you from work. Productivity is really the theme of what we're trying to do, and disrupting end users from their work is not aiding that. The sort of wording and messaging, the ways that those notifications are happening across our different products and different apps that are deployed on a device are sort of disruptive. So there's a lot of work and a lot of thinking to bring those together into a single interface, and also kind of thinking about the standards and stuff that we can apply to make that way more consistent across the org. This is something we're really excited to talk about, software updates that don't suck. We're leaning much more into declarative device management to do the heavy lifting of updating a device, but for all the goodness that DDM brings, it lacks that sort of rounded end user experience. This is something which we're previewing and just prototyping right now, but we would like your feedback. This is sort of what it would look like. So the notification from the system will come in. This is part of the declaration. And then we can join that end user experience up in the app by showing some extra goodies in there, again, curated by you. So if there's a learn more link taking you somewhere else, or if you want kind of in-app text, then that works too. And this is something we hear a lot about. Yes, it does support dark mode. Everything we're going to be doing supports dark mode. So yeah, you can rest at ease. So that's Self-Service Plus. That's what V1 is looking like today. I'm going to hand over to Carl, who's going to go for a little bit more under the hood on how we built it.
So let's see. I'm going to take an informal poll before we move on. We make software. Lots of other companies make software. Just raise your hand real quick if you or your organization write software. OK, there's a lot, right? It's a little less than half, maybe a third of the room does that. So in bigger companies that have teams that write software, it's often a challenge to get teams to work together on one thing. So let me talk about our current apps that are out there right now. Not Self-Service Plus, but our current crop of Mac apps. For the commercial space, we have Self-Service that has kind of grown up with Jamf Pro. It used to be, the Casper suite. Self-Service has kind of been there since day one, early on. The other three, Connect, Protect, and Trust, have come to Jamf through acquisitions. So Connect used to be Nomad from Orchard and Grove. Jamf Protect used to be from Digita. And the Jamf Trust app used to be the Wandera app. And so each of those apps kind of had their own teams working on them, their own whole companies working on them. And they made their own decisions about how to make it work, how to code this, how to solve these problems. And that's great. And over time, they've adopted Jamf brands. All of them have a Jamf on the front except Self-Service, but that comes with Jamf Pro only. And they have the Jamf look and feel, sort of, but it's a bunch of different teams working on those different apps, sort of with strategic leadership, but at the tactical level, each of those teams is solving the exact same problems. When Apple updates their operating systems, each team has to go through and figure out what is it that they need to change in their apps, and each of them solve that problem. So within Jamf, we're solving the same problems 4 or 5 times. So we've embarked on a strategic realignment of our app development teams in order to deliver this vision of an app for that, the Jamf app, the Self-Service Plus app. And the way that we're going to do this is that there's one strategy guiding all of our app development. The teams are still specialized in their workflows because they've been doing them for a long time. So the Jamf Trust team really knows about ZTNA. The self-service team really, really knows about these self-service app catalog workflows. And they're still going to be working on that, but now we're going to be bringing them together with more shared code, like a view library within Self-Service Plus, and other foundational code that sort of makes your app fit into the operating system, like keychain access, feature flags, interprocess communication on a Mac. There's lots of things that we can share. So, okay, all of this sounds good, but for any software engineers or people who know software engineers in the room, it really sounds like we're making a monolith here out of our app, and engineers love a monolith, right? Well, no, engineers don't love a monolith because the problems with monolith is you tend to have a lot of spaghetti code that depends on other code, and now everything is hard to test, so we don't love a monolith. There's a lot of dependencies, but with dependencies comes some shared code. Shared code, yes, you're depending on that other code, but you're also relying on your coworkers more. We don't have to solve that same problem 5 times. We can solve some of these problems once, and every team gets that update with shared code. So we think that's a good trade-off in general. And then, I've been working at Jamf for almost 9 years, and I've worked on a lot of these apps, and some of our developers are very attached to their apps. They don't want to work on something new. They'd like their app the way it is, and that's a little scary. And they might not know how to do it. Like, it's a different thing. How are we going to make this happen? So it's hard. It's hard work to do this. But, it's also kind of exciting because you get to work on something new, which is great. And you have new opportunities to learn new things and try new things and not solve all the problems yourself. So all of these things are really valid concerns from our developer groups, and we think we've come up with a way that handles all of those. So we're going to modularize these things. We're going to modularize our existing code. And each team still owns their focused workflows, but we created a new team that owns the shell of Self-Service Plus. And then each of the product teams still exist, and they're going to work to make their workflows available within this shell. And we're starting with Self-Service Classic and Protect. So here's a really simplified view of the self-service application. I've called out a few groups of code for business logic, networking, some foundational code, resources like text and images that are shown to the user. That's kind of the existing self-service app. And what we want to do is make it more modular, so split the business logic up into specific parts, like the business logic for the catalog or the business logic for notifications. And we can then make that a little more easy to share, easy to move across from self-service to Self-Service Plus. It also cleans up the code in our legacy applications. And then for Self-Service Plus, we put together a new foundation layer that uses a new UI library that was built by Mateusz Pokialo, an engineer at Jamf. And it's a new way of putting all of these things together from lots of different workflows, and then we get to share the look and feel. So everybody doesn't even have to update their own colors, their own styles. When our UX department says, hey, we want to use San Francisco 12 point instead of San Francisco 13 point, there's one place in the UI library that we do that, and then our app will get that new look. And then for Self-Service Plus, we want to bring together more modules, right? We just added another module in the yellow there at the top with the branding information or security information. And that security information is going to pull directly from Protect if it's installed on the machine, and then Protect can also send notifications into our existing notifications capability. So all user notifications will end up in that one notification history list. Over time, we're going to bring in other independent modules from our other apps, Connect and Trust. And we're going to reuse the best parts of each of them for the foundations piece. So maybe somebody has a better foundations piece than we have, and we'll be able to bring that in. So this is a really big effort that is really impacting Jamf's engineering org. We started late last year and formed a new team to own that shell of Self-Service Plus and sort of the architecture and the build process. Parts of Self-Service Classic were actually refactored earlier this year And we shipped the first refactored code with Jamf Pro 11.5 in May. So you've all been using this refactored code that's in self-service and is also now going to be available in Self-Service Plus. So when can we expect to get your hands on Self-Service Plus? Sam?
Yikes. Okay, so we just entered into a private beta on Monday, I think. So a few of you have been using Self-Service Plus already. If anyone is interested, so anyone here at JNUC is interested in participating in that private beta, speak to your account manager, come grab me afterwards, we'll sign you up. And it'll be made available in Jamf account probably next week. We've done a few betas this week, and our team is super busy. The next question is usually when it's going to ship. So we're aiming for early next year. We're looking pretty good to getting it into everyone's hands kind of early next year. But what does the roadmap look like? So you've seen the very first version. I said this was just the first step that we're taking into reimagining the end user experience, really focusing on productivity. So what does the rest kind of look like? Today, we are doing Self-Service Classic and Protect. That's what exists today in Self-Service Plus. But we've got another, a number of apps which are part of that experience to realize a trusted access outcome. So we're looking to add Connect and Jamf Trust capabilities pretty soon. And that will kind of round out the vision for what we want to do on Mac in the commercial space. We can't forget iOS. iOS right now is, I think, 3 apps. So there's Self-Service Classic, there's Jamf Trust, and then Executive Threat Protection too. So we're bringing Self-Service Plus to iOS. And some of you might not even know these exist, but we actually support Windows and Android too in some capacity. We obviously don't do management, but we do security there. So there is Jamf Trust with private access and some security controls. There's also Executive Threat Protection on Android. So we'll be bringing Self-Service Plus to those platforms too. The goal is to have the exact same experience across all of the platforms that our end users use today. Mixed fleets are a real thing. And so as they're interacting with their organization and Jamf, the notifications should feel the same, the look and feel should feel the same. It should be a really consistent experience across the board. We're not just stopping there. There's a lot more things than just bringing stuff together into a single app experience. There's a lot of controls that administrators have that drive those end user experiences. This is a lot of things that we're thinking about today, but also we've left the roadmap relatively squishy so that we get feedback from you and we can kind of hear what you're interested in. How could you tell us what you're interested in? There's a number of brain dates that are happening. So Carl and I have a brain date which is called that, so you can look that up. Obviously, we're in the expo booth. There's a number of us kind of down in the expo booth, which you can come talk to. You can come grab us afterwards or ask some questions. But we'll be really interested to hear how your users are kind of using Self-Service Classic or other elements of Jamf today. What would make them more productive? You can ask us about the future roadmap and what we're thinking about too. So come chat. I think that's it. Yeah, we've got some time for questions, so thank you very much.
Good job.
Cool. There you go. You're welcome.
All right, raise your hand if you got a question. All right, I'll start right here in the center.
Great, I love being first. Great presentation, guys. This all looks amazing. I'm sure everyone thinks the same. My first question is, a lot of my users complain about the Jamf Pro notifications not having a historical record. So will that be a feature that's in Self-Service Plus?
Yes, we have that notifications tab in Self-Service Plus, and that is intended to be a notification history. Right now, it is really kind of bare bones in the beta, but we have in our roadmap to add things like filters for security notifications or update notifications or different kinds of things out of Jamf Trust or Connect in the future, and then also the ability to mark as read or delete those notifications if they've had enough of looking at those.
Hi there. So you mentioned that in the self-service app that if you aren't a Jamf Protect customer, that the security piece wouldn't be there. Is there maybe an opportunity to utilize the new compliance benchmarks tool and the reporting that's coming from that to sit in its place instead?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I think a part of this JNUC experience is kind of hearing that sort of feedback. So yeah, maybe let's chat afterwards and see what that reporting would look like. I think it's an interesting use case.
Yeah, internally we've been testing Self-Service Plus for a month and a half or 2 months now. And we've had similar conversations internally, like could we get I don't know about this one exactly, but like the battery health check was an interesting one that maybe is there, and like hard drive status, if we can read some of those other fields locally from the device and just report them to the user. So yeah, we're definitely thinking about those things.
All right, we got one back here.
I think you partly answered it. So our area is going to be extensible that we can manage. I think you mentioned the top area being an option, and then hard drive, stats, CPU. Could there be other areas like links that we get to choose and things like that?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff you can do today just through Jamf Pro, so you can add bookmarks and stuff like that. We've got a whole topic around customization for admins, and also kind of leading into the end user side. We can preview those. We're allowed to talk about them now. Okay, hooray.
We can, yeah.
So yeah.
Go for it.
That's the goal. So we would really love the homepage to just be entirely curated by you. We think it would make however your organization gets end users and or sort of employees more productive, that's what we want to enable to happen. So we've got a bank of work which we're thinking about right now, which is all around how would you make that more customizable. Not everyone opens Self-Service Plus. It's like a big thing to open just to get access to a single bookmark. So how could we kind of shortcut those steps, maybe through a menu bar or something like that? So that's exactly our intention, is to make that super customizable.
So my question, first of all, I want to give him credit. That was a really good question. My thought immediately went to, can you maybe get status off of Apple's endpoint security API in some form? So say I'm not a Protect customer. The state of Indiana actually pays for CrowdStrike for any governmental organization. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that's not going to help you sell Jamf Protect, but on the other hand, that is going to make my life as a Jamf Pro admin, like if I could show some CrowdStrike status in compliance with that. Also, I wanted to know from my point of view, like if I'm interested in this beta, would that apply to my test instance? Would it apply to my production instance? And if it went to production, can I opt out for some users but kick the tires for like machines I'm trying in my labs or whatnot?
Sure. Let me answer your second question first, and then we'll get back to the security info from endpoint security. So how do you get the beta? What does it mean? How do you deploy it? All of those questions, right? Let me answer that. For this time period right now, the beta will be in the Jamf account beta area, where you might be used to getting betas of Jamf Pro or other Jamf products. Self-Service Plus will be available as a download link, just like you might be able to download Jamf Connect or Jamf Protect. And then you can put it into your Jamf Pro however you like. You can deploy it as a policy to whatever test devices you want to scope it to. We've tried to make it really backwards compatible so that Self-Service Plus will pick up the settings that already go down with Self-Service Classic. And so currently in the beta, anybody that you deploy Self-Service Plus to will also have self-service, because you've already deployed self-service and we don't take that away. It's another package that you would install a separate app. In the future, we want to make that I think we want to make that a choice based on your feedback maybe though, but we would say, do you want self-service on these computers or do you want Self-Service Plus on these computers? And at some point in some maybe distant, maybe soon future, I don't really know how long it will take, but at some point Self-Service Plus will be the self-service app. So that's your second question. The first question, getting security information out of Enterprise Security Framework. from different partners, I think we're open to exploring partnerships where it is beneficial to both Jamf and our partners to work together to get information explained to the end user. I don't think we can comment on anything else beyond that, really.
Yeah, I think, yeah. yeah.
I gave the R, and I know that
Yeah.
the state's paid for our endpoint security.
Right.
They're offering to foot the bill if we can. I mean,
Yeah. So another little aside for that is that Jamf Pro, whenever you enroll in Jamf Pro, you also get the Jamf management framework, which is a daemon and some agents, CLI tools that are kind of lower level. They don't interact with the enterprise security framework right now. But someday in the future they could, maybe. But we do get some low-level information from those that we could probably display in Self-Service Plus if there was desire. I see.
So many questions. You're trying. I get it. You've got this sprawl. You've got connect. You've got protect. You've got self-service. But these are three really disparate apps. One's really end-user driven. One's an endpoint security agent. One's a menu bar app and a login window. It's like these are, very different user interface paradigms. So like, how are you dealing with that? Are you going to still have the endpoint security extension separate? And then what does migration look like for moving people from in the first half of 25 when this comes out? What does moving from self-service to self-service plus look like for an end user, like replacing the application on their computer?
Yeah, so the migration is quite friendly at the moment. You can just co-deploy both of them. So you can have Self-Service Classic and Protect running against Self-Service Plus. At some point, you'd not want to have both of these running, and so you just remove Self-Service Classic. Protect is a separate agent today, and that will continue to be a separate agent. So once that's deployed, it automatically kind of knows it's there. It will start publishing information directly into the home screen. For all of the other apps coming together, that was really the opportunity. Like 90% of the code base of all of these different apps are kind of the same. They're all looking at notifications and branding and localization and machine-to-machine auth. And the actual core capability that they're delivering is quite a small chunk of it. There's a lot of optimization in bringing these things together. And in terms of the user experience, we've just started that journey. So it's really about kind of looking at the problems that exist today. So notifications came up really as a big topic last year about duplicative notifications, and the wording's weird and they're not always actionable. So that's how we look at these individual capabilities and the sort of the friction points that they create, but also the opportunities of bringing them closer together. Blending workflows from different capabilities, so blending workflows from Connect and Protect together is really unique and really cool, and something that we'll eventually be able to get to. But this is just step one. So step one is just bringing it together, making it stupid simple for you to deploy. So it's just one app with a configuration profile. It will remove a bunch of friction points which exist today around notifications and a bunch of bits and bobs. And then we can get into the much more cool and interesting stuff about blending these workflows together as we kind of progress down.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is Connect, its main use case is to authenticate the user. And so there is the login window. That's always going to be like a separate thing because that's a special like Mac OS mode of operating. And so that's going to be its own thing. But as we're looking at building Connect into Self-Service Plus, that login window right now lives inside of the Connect app. We can just take that login window and plop it into Self-Service Plus, and it will work just the same. So we can take that whole login window experience just from Connect and say, yeah, it's part of Self-Service Plus now, and you get a login window too. Cool. But the other part of Connect, the menu bar app, its main use really is to log people in or out or update their password. And we want to put that into Self-Service Plus, where self-service users also have to log in. So why do we have to have two places to log in? Like, let's log into Self-Service Plus, have a login area, have a profile area where they can see and update their password right within Self-Service Plus. So just kind of making it a one-stop shop for end users, really.
Right.
sorry, go ahead. Oh.
Yeah, no.
So
I don't know
there
where
have been
the
a lot
microphone
of great ideas being bounced around as like feature requests, and I'm just going to throw in more on there. Since we've talked about like surfacing information on the computer, could it be set up to maybe show extension attribute data? It occurs to me that during inventory updates, it's running the script locally. That could be written somewhere for local readout, which would give more insight on the state of a computer, like version data or presence of security tooling or other things that aren't immediately surfaceable to a user during like support interactions.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think you wouldn't want to show those to the end user all the time, like on the home screen, like nobody cares, right? I, as an end user, don't care that XProtect is at version 35,204. Doesn't matter to me. So why show it to me? But in terms of having an area of Self-Service Plus where it can like have the user click a button and it generates a report or shows a view to them where they can read these things to someone on the phone or send it to you, that does make sense, I think.
You mentioned the menu bar app for self-service. Having it in 2 places would be redundant. Are you alluding to the menu bar app for Jamf Connect, not self-service? Are you alluding to the menu bar app eventually going away?
If we think about what an integration of Connect might look like into Self-Service Plus, the menu bar is really cool. It's a really quick way of getting access to information without having to load an entire app screen. So the menu bar won't go away because it would be integrated into Self-Service Plus. We've got some cool designs and some ideas to make it better. So at the moment, it's just like a drop down of text. Like it's pretty cool. It's pretty basic, right? There's a lot of opportunities there which we can lean into to make that more useful for end users. But we're not planning on killing it off. Definitely not.
2 questions around notifications. You said, I think I heard that notifications would be bundled into one notification, or
so
from Notifications Center, like there's updates available. Is that one message, or is it each app still sends a message?
Yeah, so at the moment, there's a single notifications pane within Self-Service Plus. That's where everything will go for all of the Jamf capabilities. Right now, it would just be Self-Service Classic and Protect stuff, but when Connect and whatever gets in there, at the moment it's per app. It's not like a sort of joined up list of all the apps. At the moment there's just duplications. You get 2 notifications every time there's an app update. So
that's beta.
Yeah,
it's beta. Right?
It's beta. Yeah, exactly. So maybe don't do that first, and then we can start looking at collapsing those notifications. But they're super annoying. Just getting like a notification for every single app. It's on our hit list.
Yeah.
Quick follow-up to that. There was a talk earlier today about a long PI about phantom notifications. Does Self-Service Plus address that PI, where you get a notification even though the app is already up to date?
Yeah, that's a problem with Self-Service Classic and updates. And the Self-Service Classic team that is working on that app is in charge of doing those same things for Self-Service Plus. So if it's a problem in Jamf Pro or if it's a problem in the Self-Service Classic app, I don't know right now. So we're not specifically addressing it any differently than we would, like it's a problem in the workflow, and it will be addressed by that team.
Hi, me again. Will Self-Service Classic eventually be sunset once Self-Service Plus, has its full legs up and running?
Yeah, at some point. So not today, and I couldn't give you a date. I don't know when that will be. We're running them together. It's just a beta, so we're going to obviously run them together. Once it goes GA, we're not planning on end-of-lifing it there. We won't announce it being end-of-life. We'll wait for your feedback. Let us know how it goes, and then we'll be looking to end-of-life it at some point. But not too sure on the date yet.
Yeah, to go along with that, one of the things that we're doing with the development teams is that the self-service team is still in charge of self-service and making their workflows in such a way that they can be dropped into Self-Service Plus. And that's great because they can write the workflow once and it works in both apps. Now, we have to test it in Self-Service Plus. We also have to test it in Self-Service Classic. So there is additional burden on the development teams to make sure that their things are working in both of those apps. And at some point, we would like to remove that burden because Self-Service Plus is just better. It does everything that Self-Service did plus more. So get rid of that one.
First off, really good stuff, guys. Jamf Protect offline. Will Self-Service Plus report back any information?
For, what do you mean exactly for offline? Not on-prem?
Not on-prem, no. We actually purchase offline, which we're using to report to Splunk, but don't have the full dashboard or any of that good stuff.
Gotcha. For Protect, yes.
Protect, yeah.
Yeah, Protect, as part of Self-Service Plus, Protect will continue to operate just like it exactly does now.
Yeah.
So nothing is changing there with reporting anything to any other Jamf services. It just locally on the Mac, it detects at runtime if Self-Service Plus is installed, and if so, it pipes information over to Self-Service Plus. If Self-Service Plus is not installed, Protect continues to show its own alerts, just like it does right now. And it really wouldn't show anything to the user because it doesn't right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. On the home screen of Self-Service Plus, we can locally detect, like Protect is running and say, hey, you locally Protect, what configuration do you have? What are you blocking? Let's show that to the user. And then Protect, the agent, is still sending things to your own Splunk. So it's just on device. Protect to Self-Service Plus is only on that one Mac.
Hi, I'm over here. So with being able to use Jamf Connect in the product, that's pretty awesome. But for folks that may not have that particular product, have there been considerations around tying in with other Apple native options like the Kerberos SSO plugin or Platform SSO?
Me?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right. Yeah. Yes, the Connect team is becoming our, for app development, they're becoming our identity experts, right? That's what they do. They've been doing it forever, and that team really, really knows identity. And the other apps are like, we have to log into an IDP. What do? I don't know. Go Google it or something. Go ask those other Jamfs that really know what they're doing. So Connect is building a library that we can use in Self-Service Plus, and that library can trigger all sorts of things. They can trigger the biometrics on the Mac for a Touch ID, or on iOS for Face ID or Touch ID. They can do Platform SSO. They can integrate with IDPs in various different ways because they're Connect and they know all of those things. And so all of those options are going to be coming to Self-Service Plus when Connect gets in there.
Mm-hmm.
We got about 2 minutes left, so time for one more question. If anybody does have any additional questions, you definitely should head down to the expo hall, and we could get those additional questions answered.
Hi, question about device compliance. I saw something in the screenshot about that, but let's assume your device needs to be compliant for access to your resources, and you're not compliant. Will Self-Service Plus show the user why you're not compliant instead of just an crossbar, an X or a V?
Yeah, so today on this version at least, it won't. It really just shows you what's configured on Jamf Protect in terms of blocking and harmful stuff. As we integrate more of those capabilities, we then start getting access to more information where we could start showing that. We don't have any specific plans to do that just yet, but it's definitely something we would. I mean, that's entirely the goal, is to be productive and genuinely helpful, so it would fit pretty neatly within that framework. So yeah.
Wonderful. How about a big round of applause for Sam and Kyle?
Cool.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Awesome. Be sure to sign up for that beta. It sounds pretty cool. I'm going to do that myself. Everybody head out, get some refreshments, enjoy the last session of the day, and then we'll see you at the party. Thank you.
Party! Party!